All right, I'm really curious to what Ellie's going to tell us right now.
The same men that are like, go to the kitchen, go to the kitchen, go to the kitchen, go to the kitchen, go to the kitchen.
I'm just going to point out, I always talk about this in my videos, but really pay attention to the way that they make faces. Okay, you can tell a lot by eyes, facial expression. When they start getting really amped up about something, you can learn a lot about a person's personality from the way they speak, their demeanor. Okay. A lot of people like underestimate this a lot, and they always say, oh, don't judge a book by its cover and all these things. Well, there's a lot of things you can learn from the cover. Okay. There's a reason why it's so important, why marketing is so important, why the cover is an important piece of real estate used to suck people in into buying a book or whatever, obviously. I don't want to get into the philosophy of this. Just pay attention to what I'm telling you and try to see if you can pick apart what's going to come next.
The same men, it's the same.
Oh, the clap right after. The clap right after. I never watched this clip, by the way, just so you know. So it's funny that I say that. And then immediately after, you get that clap energy. And you know that any sort of clap energy, women, guys, don't bother.
Strain of men. The same men that say that are the same men that, like, when like a girl says like I want a rich man, are the same men to be like, you women are gold diggers, you guys are this, that, the other thing. You're telling me to go to the kitchen when you can't even buy me a kitchen.
Okay, so first of all, right? This is this conditional thing where it's like, I will be conditionally submissive. Basically, it's like, I will do everything for you only once you have secured everything on earth for me first. I'm not going to give you any of this. It's the same arguments as, oh, well, I will only give you wife treatment after you have given me the ring, right? But then you're like, okay, so you're basically turning this into a transactional thing when you should just want to help me. So the whole idea when guys say go to the kitchen, right? The whole idea here, I know it sounds vulgar and all this stuff, right? Oh, go to the kitchen. The idea is submission, right? Guys just want women, they're going to support them. And the kitchen is a really easy, effective way to support somebody outside of financial means, because we all know women aren't going to really help us when it comes to financial stuff, right? So what other things can they do? Well, cooking food is a great way to provide value to a guy. That's why. Because outside of these few house things or chores, how many other colorful ways can a girl really provide value? At least for the guys that most girls want, which is the guys that have, had to work really hard to achieve whatever they have to achieve.
You're like, go wash the dishes. Can you afford 12 dishes? Like, there's no kitchen for me to go to. What, you want me to buy the house and go to the kitchen?
Yeah, so you're talking about a really extreme scenario. So I understand, you know what's funny? I actually do understand her point. If she's talking about a broke guy completely that lives in a room with no kitchen in it, fine. Okay, that's fine. But if you have your own place, right? Women won't really even do that, even if you have your own place. All right. Ask me how I know.
I really do think the value of men have dropped so significantly. And you want to know why? I'm going to say this, and this is what's going to get me canceled. If men acted right, the men and the women are going to hate me for saying this. If the men acted right, there would be no issues in the world.
Okay, so she's actually right about this, but here's the issue. When guys try to act right, they don't have anyone supporting them. They really don't. So you get in this position where, I mean, girls say they want to build, but they don't encourage building, right? They just encourage getting as much leverage as possible so they can have authority later on. So, yeah, she's right. If more guys did what they're supposed to do or tried harder, the world would be a better place. But to exclusively blame men for this problem alone and putting no responsibility in the female end also doesn't really make sense, because in the end, right? Who's putting this constant pressure, right? Like, are we going to say it's all just down to feminized men? Like, they're the reason for all the problems? Look, you can say that. You can make a pretty good argument for it. But ultimately, in the end, right, the majority, unfortunately, in a democratic society, the majority will win through votership. Okay, so the small fraction of men that you guys want so badly, the same guys that a lot of girls will call elitists, right? Those are the same guys that don't really have the voter power in terms of volume, right? People are always going to, over time, people are always going to vote based on emotions. And it's very easy to see how voting left wing is a very emotional way to vote, especially considering where it was before and where it is now. So, in theory, It sounds good. Oh yeah, if men just did better, maybe we'd all be better off. In theory, it sounds good. In reality, though, and the way that society functions and oscillates, it's extremely difficult to maintain this standard over time. And this has been proven for the last 120 years. Let's continue.
You want to sit there and you want to yell at provocative women and be like, OnlyFans, this, that, the other. You want to sit and yell at provocative women for doing provocative things and then go like all of their pictures and then give me the excuse of, well, a man can't control themselves. Like, I'm going to have a really classy wife, but this is. You are the problem too. Go. Get out of my face.
Okay, when it comes to this concept, I mean, she's right. I don't love her demeanor, but she's right. Like, you guys are buying OnlyFans, and it is pretty crazy that men are supporting this economy 100%, and girls are making fun of the same guys that they are making all of their money from. Look, we could talk about the morality of it all day, okay? We can, and obviously it's morally not correct, but at the same time, right? Why are guys buying OnlyFans this much? Like, who are these guys that are putting endless money into the hands of women for basically what's it's sort of like socially acceptable prostitution, right? It's the safest form of it. You don't have to do anything physical, but it's still selling sex, right? So it's still in the realm of prostitution. It's just not as bad as, doing the legitimate act, of course. So anyway, yeah, I mean, her last few points, unfortunately, were pretty on point. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't love to only blame women, of course. Guys have a huge part to play, and that's why, on my side of things, I always focus on guys taking control of the things they can control, which is why I have a community, which is why I have a Patreon, all these things, because I know a lot of guys, they do lack a lot of the components that girls find attractive. Um, if you want to set yourself apart, well, inevitably, you're going to have to do the work. That being said, it is harder to find girls that are willing to be submissive, even if you are that guy. It's even then, it's still a different challenge than it was before. So it is important though to look at this whole thing holistically. You got to look at the big picture from all angles to figure out, okay, what is the objective reasoning of why this is all happening? To blame one gender alone exclusively doesn't always make sense. But yes, as men, we have to learn to take control and take leadership. And if we do, you'll get less of this. If you like my content and you want to support me, make sure to check out my Patreon. There, I break down game in depth and you can talk to me directly. You can find it in the description below.